Meanwhile, Nigeria's emergency services have been reacting to the tank explosion. The co-marshal of the Federal Road Safety Commission, Sheikh Mohammed, while commiserating with the affected families of the victims, says he has ordered an investigation into the immediate cause of the tank explosion, while on his part, the Controller General of the Federal Fire Service, Abdul Ganiu Jaji, urged fuel stations and tanker owners to take immediate action in addressing reckless driving by their drivers. He expressed concern over the rising frequency of tank explosions and fuel station incidents. The Director General of NEMA, Zubaida Umaru, also expressed deep sympathy with affected victims and their families while condemning the acts of poor handling of spilled tankers, stressing the recurrent strategies or tragedies associated with such risky behaviors. And now, about 4 months ago, a similar incident occurred in Niger State, claiming lives. The issue of tank explosions is becoming one too many in Niger State, and the authorities seem helpless in this case. Again, of course, we have Dr. Amadi who is here to look at this issue. Of course, what the government should be doing now and what other stakeholders should also be doing to prevent a future occurrence. Dr. Amadi is the director of Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Thank you so much for joining us. This is very sudden and heartbreaking and of course, the question will still be, why does this happen all the time? Would you say it's a case of, lack of adherence to safety measures or protocols, or a reflection of the state of the nation?
Well, the lack of safety protocols and effective prevention and management of incidents like this speaks about the state of the nation as well. I mean, too many. I mean, we had in Niger, we've had several places, and the patterns are the same. So there are many causes. First is reckless driving, like the governor observed, like the officials observed. So the attitude of Nigerian drivers, maybe taking one way, not having the patience to go through the normal, maybe in this case, perhaps should go down the bridge and it takes longer, they maybe take a wrong way. So the reckless driving perhaps led to the first incident, which is that the crash of the tanker.
Right.
Now, at that moment, so this is now the Nigerian crisis. First, we don't have efficient protocol and response time to crisis. So why should they be transferring fuel to another tanker in a disorganized manner, in a way that villagers could come in, fuel could spill, and they start scooping? That's really the problem here. So what we expected would have been, at the moment that happens, the driver himself, literate, smart, well informed, will declare an emergency, condone off that place, stop everything. The security institutions will arrive, maybe road safety and others, and take a red line, okay? So there will be no incident of villagers rushing in to, like a spectacle. The protocol for transferring that, the fuel from the crashed vehicle to a new one would have been taking all the precautions. And if that had been done according to well-established safety protocol, including drawing a line where villagers, nobody could cross, we wouldn't be talking about 60, more than 60 dead. I mean, some of the pictures are gory, chat beyond recognition. And so the real problem here is threefold. One is a general character, the lack of recklessness, evidence of lack of order, public ethics, social capital, then of course rules and how they are enforced and announced. So the rules of road traffic and the penalty, we've seen a lot of these articulated vehicles, for example, Dangote or any other, fuel or, logistic vehicle on the roads. We've seen reckless instances, but we've not seen punishment. We've not seen a sense in which the state prosecutes in a way to internalize caution, so that it's about cost and benefit. So if these guys know that the drivers could be damned, they could be damned corporate-wise for cost, then they would roll out real structure for training, monitoring, and discipline. So the level of literacy, the level of informed consciousness of the drivers that drove some of these logistic vehicles, whether it's fuel, cement, is very low. And their behavior, recklessness, is unconstrained. And so that's the first problem, that we need to now begin to create a road transport protocol, not just about managing the highways, making them safe and dealing with potholes, but also dealing with behavior of transporters themselves. That's number one. Number two is that you see poverty, also being a factor. I mean, why on earth, with all the stories around tragic outcomes for fuel or diesel involvement or whatever it is, why in today's world would people gleefully rush to scoop petrol? The level of poverty, the level of illiteracy, the level of lack of real consciousness, irresponsibility that has afflicted the Nigerian neighborhoods is phenomenal. It's too high. That's why 60 people could have died needlessly. And the third issue now will now be how are we preemptive? Like the governor has spoken about banning some use of some roads, but so this is after the fact. We shouldn't be being a piecemeal and episodic and reactive. We should be able to, always periodically review road logistics movements and be able to create those directives that will stop, not react to such kind of tragedy. So I think that this is multiple levels of failures, multiple levels of social capital, poor public value, and poor management of both the roads and emergencies and responsiveness of institutions when they do happen.
Well, what broader reforms would you recommend to address this interconnected problem? Because you mentioned poverty and all of the other multifaceted issues. So what are some of the broader reforms that you can recommend? And that's when you also talk about poverty, is there a way that we can educate these people to perhaps change their mind? Because this is not the first time. And I'm sure before now, they've also heard about incidences like these elsewhere.
See on television, on WhatsApp messages.
But yet these
kept
happening again and again and again.
That's head instincts and more behavior. Two things I would say. One is we need to bring back real governance in our local communities. I mean, look at this. That place is a community with a local government, then a state. So you would, if you have a real local government, real local governance, community governance, as long as
that touches on the people.
Exactly. As long as that incident happens, you don't have to wait for the governor. You don't have to wait for states, federal response. That would be a local view. And that's what we talk about, maybe local policing, local fire service, local emergency actions. They don't have to be decentralized federal action. We need to begin to see that our neighborhoods are governed well. Imagine if this happened in maybe some place like what's going on in LA, okay? These are much more nature-based tragedy. But you see the response level, responsibility and responsiveness are local. So the counties have mitigation strategy. They have institutions that respond. So I think the first thing to do with poverty, we talk about poverty too much, but this poverty of ideas, of mentality. The fact that our people have become so desensitized, they see danger and they're going through. It looks like Animal Republic, What's going on here with our people? Not just in the north, in the south, in the east. We see people not exercising some level of basic response, basic sensitivity to crisis. And so it's both a material poverty, yes, could induce people to go and risk their life to scoop fuel to sell. But beyond that, there's a certain moral poverty and a certain less sense of both community and formal leadership and governance that is missing.
Well, I need you to address two critical issues before we go, because beyond road safety, how do you think, this incident, can be addressed, especially when you look at the way we transport our products?
Absolutely.
How can it be well handled in terms of better regulations, the way we transport these inflammable products across the country?
That's a good point.
Then secondly, I mean, we hear that even those who were trying to rescue others were caught up in the flame as well. So do you think agencies like NEMA, the FRSC are adequately equipped, to handle, disasters such as these?
Well, first, let's start with how do we transport inflammables and other dangerous products across, whether it's in the shipment area, whether it's in our sea water. This country is under-regulated. If you look at Europe, Western Europe, Western countries, America, the debates around deregulation, okay? But here, I think we're very under-regulated. You see vehicles carry terrible products with no basic protocol on how they should be, packaged, stored away, transported. There should be clear protocols and enforced, not just on paper. Now, you can't be carrying, the way you see tankers move around with highly flammable products across the neighborhoods, bad roads, rickety tanks. Some of the vehicles can break down any moment. Some of them have tires. In fact, you see some with no tire at all, just the wheel cracking, and they're moving. There is just lack of control. And that lack of control is lack of governance. That's the problem. Nobody's paying attention. So you have Minister of Transport, you have Minister of Works and Road, you have people who are responsible for you have FEMA, FRC. The level of attention, and this is not just to call people out, is very low. And therefore, we don't have clarity. So if I want to start a logistics company, do I have a clarity as to how each product could be transported? Do I have a process that's not cumbersome, that's not corrupt, where I can get that information? And I do have people who can monitor. And so once you get one infraction, you are punished heavily. Aggravated damages, exemplary damages, to make sure that you internalize that consciousness. Okay, I can't do this. So what I'm saying is that there's no rules, there are no rules, there are no effective enforcement, there are no oversights, there's no even vigilance. People are not paying attention, those who have responsibility. And so we should be carrying inflammables in a reckless, in fact sometimes they carry it together with human beings. They carry it in a manner that's not even secured internally. Accidents can happen, and they do happen all over the world. But what's happening here is just not accident. This is human, it's like intentional act of threat and damage to the environment, to human beings. Because the story around this crisis is nothing natural. You had a terrible driver, you got a crash, and you try to transfer inflammable in a very unprotected manner. You allow villagers to crowd around, and then you put generator to create that, turn your whatever vehicle, whatever, to make it work. These are all, everything is built to cause problem. And so the question then is, after this investigation, who will be punished? What new rules come out? What new processes are established? So the key thing here is that there's really nobody who cares about the basics, about safety. There's nobody who cares about the basics of human life. And so city people dying is nothing within the Nigerian landscape of deaths. It's just like a dot. And so we don't go back and say, what? 60 people died? So who's responsible? What level of control should we put both at the local level, at the state level, and how will each of these agencies, so what's the lesson? So FRC goes back home, puts this picture together, call their experts, and say, what is this telling us about road transport, the hazards, the management? NEMA comes back after this incident, sit back in a real retreat and think around it. And then out of this incident, will now come out real processes that will prevent, control, and enable a much better emergency intervention in case there's a repeat.
A good place to leave it. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Sam Amadi. He's the director of Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Thank you for coming on Newsline.
Thank you.